Welcome back, everyone, to the channel. And I've got the fan special back. I know I've done one a couple of probably months ago now, and it was an Eels special this time. Conveniently, it's been in the works for a while now. It's the St. George Illawarra Dragons fan. It's Sid from the League of Inches channel himself. Um, Convenient timing with a lot going on at the club. It was, as I said, we were trying to get this to happen a little bit earlier, but it's probably worked out perfect now with so much going on at the club. One thing I know about Sid, I don't want to do too much of the intro. I think we've already done it in the past. You already know how passionate he is about the Dragons, but he's not just a passionate fan. He's also a fan who says it how it is, which is what I like, really respect about Sid. And he won't shy away from speaking about the truth. He won't sugarcoat it with red and white glasses on. He'll call it out if he doesn't approve of it. And I know there's quite a bit he's not approving of right now. We're going to try and keep this to about a 30-minute episode. So we're going to get through as much as we can. The way it's going, there might be a part two. You never know. But Sid, welcome back. I know we both had a bit of a break from League of Inches as such, but we're back into it at the moment. There's some new content on its way that we've spoken about, which will be out in the next probably month or so, which I can't wait for. But I want to get straight into it with you. It's been a massive couple of weeks, it's fair to say, for your club. I know how big you are of a supporter. The first question I want to ask you is just where you're at in terms of your club and where you're at in terms of mentally watching it. I've personally been in that situation in the past with the Eels, and it gets to the point where you're just drained from it. Where are you at?
Yeah, well, look, working backwards, current situation is finally whipping a dead horse for a while, in my opinion, with all due respect to Hook. Um, they tried, they didn't do the 8 years like they did with McGregor, so that got to be grateful for that. They tried, it didn't work. His system doesn't work. The players weren't playing for him, in my opinion. Like, I could tell. I won't bang on about how long I played, but I could always tell when the players believe that they can win something. They have the same teammates 1 year and they just fart us around, and in other years they were diving on loose balls, fighting for quick play the balls for that extra millisecond, you know, killing themselves, getting KO'd in the game and coming back and wanting to play and stuff like that. Broken fingers, broken noses, still wanted to play. Those are guys that believe in the game plan. Now, what you're seeing at the Dragons, especially that 300 games, that fiasco, it was just the last straw. Clearly, the straw that broke the camel's back. For Hunt 300, then it was just it was poor. You're not going to get players that just play for the sake of playing. Coaches' dreams. There was only Hunt and DeBellin, in my opinion, that in that current squad that will kill themselves each and every game. Um, Regardless of performance or a chance of achieving anything. And the rest of them were just going through the motions. So there wasn't many. So that's where it's at the moment. We ripped the band-aid off. Whatever analogy you want to use, it's done. Now it's another fiasco, I fear, is coming, and that's the trying to sell this head coaching role, this one of 17 prestigious jobs that we can't seem to sell.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You've touched on the coaching saga. We may as well get straight into it. Obviously, Anthony Griffin, head coach, has been sacked. It's been on the cards now, I feel like all season. The writing was on the wall. You can probably, the first question to ask you is why the club waited, because it was clear as day that they haven't wanted Anthony Griffin as head coach for at least the start of this year. You can probably work back to maybe last year as well. But why now? Why now for the club, do you think?
Well, now because 6 losses in a row was too much, they were trying to hang in there so they wouldn't have to pay him out. And with each passing week, the payout comes less. Like always, I feel, as my humble observation, the club always making decisions based around monetary benefit. What's the cheapest way to go about things?
Yeah, well, I feel we've been, as you said, as a fan and as a league fan looking from outside looking in, we've been here before for the Dragons. It's been one of those issues I feel like you just can't get away with when it comes to coaching. They are very stubborn in a way to your board. They don't like to necessarily sack a coach, but they're also not very good at finding the right timing or working out the right procedure to do so, which is, you think by now it would be solved. For the coaches that have been rumoured, is there a preferred candidate you'd like to see take the job and take the club forward?
Look, I'm leaning towards someone experienced. I know Hook is experienced, but not necessarily that successful. I'm leaning towards Hasler. Flanagan, we'll talk about him in a moment. He's already come out and said he's not interested. And I have more to say about that as well. But Hasler, even Tuvi, I know they're both ex-Manly, but Tuvi's got the fire. I don't know if he's still interested in a real job, but if the money's right, I'm sure anyone's interested, But those are two guys that do spring to mind, or you can look to England and try and find someone talented. I'm really shying away from this another ex-Dragon. They're talking about Riles. He's unproven. He's taken Fitzgibbon's role and Roosters have gone backwards. So that says something. That's got to say something. For me, I don't think he's proved enough to come in and demand full control of the roster, demand a 5-year deal, which is apparently, because the media, what they're like, not necessarily reliable. Apparently, that's what he's asking for. I just don't think he's earned the right to come in and throw his weight around and say, I want this, I want that. But yeah, so those are probably the two, or someone experienced, someone that's won a few things.
I 100% agree with you there. I feel like it's a job for an experienced coach for sure. And in terms of the experienced coach, not necessarily just how long they've coached for, but a coach that has proven in the past he can grab the NRL side and keep the football away from the politics, because I feel like that's been too involved with your club for some time now, and it's unfortunately claimed another scalp. There's too many sort of leaks in the club at the moment. It just seems like everything that gets done, it gets reported, so it's not healthy at all. And you just want someone, and I think Des Hasler's perfect. And I don't know why there's not more talk around it, if it's kept secret, if there is a lot more to Des Hasler being appointed than we know about. But I just feel like it screams Des Hasler, this situation. Him going in there for about 3-4 years, literally turning the place upside down, telling the football side, and he's done it before with Manly and the Dogs, that we're literally against every single other person that's not in this dressing room right now. So I feel like that's where it should be heading. As you said, Shane Flanagan could be another option. In terms of these rookie coaches that they keep putting forward, like your Jason Riles, your Ben Hornby, your Dean Young, I don't necessarily think they're right as well for this current job. There's too much to do for an inexperienced coach to be successful. If anything, they need to come in, and I don't think that any of them will want to do this, but be the assistant for 2-3 years and then take over once the head coach, for if it's Des Hasler, for instance, cleans all the mess up, cleans the shit up, so to speak, and then they go into a fresh start. Because the difference at the moment, say with Riles, there's no point in the Dragons panicking and going, oh, crap, they are interested in him for next year. They're in a completely different state as a club. They are okay. They've got the right players in key positions. They're pretty stock standard with their 1 to 17 when they're fully fit, where the Dragons, they're not. They're completely opposite. So you can't compare apples to apples with those situations. So you mentioned Flanagan in the comments he did come out with. Are you disappointed to hear that, or is it a wake-up call you feel like the club needs?
Look, both. I am disappointed, but it is a wake-up call. There's something seriously wrong with this board. There's something going on. It's toxic. I feel like, looking externally, again, I choose my words carefully because I don't know. I'm not a fly on the wall, unfortunately. I don't know. But it seems like anyone that goes against them, they get bullied out of the joint. That's what I feel like. And the example I want to add is long time ago, I met Steve Folkes, may he rest in peace, the legendary Steve Folkes, right? Anyone would say, even though if you're not a Bulldogs fan, the guy's a legend. He was a fitness freak. He's done it all. Absolute gentleman, family man, your top bloke. And I spent a couple of hours with him. I won't disclose. It was got to do with my work at the time, right? And he was talking to me, and I said, I'm a Dragons fan. And he was on the assistant coaching at the time, right? And he was on the outer. So part of what I was doing was got to do with that. And he was quite bitter, and he had very similar sentiments to what uh, Flanagan was saying. And I feel like he was waiting for an opportunity to become the next coach. Um, and then they put McGregor in, and then that was part of it. And he thought he'd had the credentials, he had the pedigree, he had the history, the achievements, and he laid some groundwork to get back into in head coaching role. And then they binned him. Um, but anyway, so he had very similar sentiments without revealing any more. And it doesn't surprise me. And look, how all these years later, someone like Flanagan, not interested in one of 17 prestigious jobs, he's quite happy to stay at assistant, quite happy to sit on 200 grand when he could make 800 grand. That says a lot. It speaks volumes.
It's massive. And you mentioned the board. I feel like that's a good segue into talking about the board. As an outsider, and I don't know if it was sugar-coated because you did win the premiership, but I think it's fair to say now that being a merger club originally, it's been really hard to coexist together, that both parties to actually merge together, as in the name has said, and what the NRL's asked for. It was always going to be a tough task. It's proving harder now more than ever. I feel like for both merger clubs, for the Tigers and for you guys, it's been a loggerheads no matter what. I feel like the fans want to get them all together and bang their heads together and say, we're literally one club, hurry up and move forward. We're not changing. Nothing's going to change. Start being, because from what I heard, I think it's 4 and 4, the board. It's a Illawarra and there's a St. George section. And then the CEO, Ryan Webb, gets a say at the end, basically. But while there's still that we're 2 clubs into one, it's always going to be difficult. And for you fans, it just must be, first of all, I want to know how you feel about still being a merger club as such, but it just must absolutely do your head in that it feels like not just battling 16 other NRL clubs, you're actually battling inside your own club.
Yeah, 100%. It's look, I think it's a failed exercise. I think joint ventures don't work because they are, like you said, technically the brand is there, but there are 2 companies that have vested interest in one. So they'll ultimately prioritize themselves first, and that's what's happening. And it still feels like a separate clubs, even though the logo says both St. George and Illawarra. If you go down to Wollongong, sections of the fans still chant Steelers. It says a lot. It's pretty stupid if you ask me. I'd prefer that they disband the joint venture or demerge, as some people are saying. Um, I feel they should do that, and the same thing with the West Tigers. It's just ugly. It doesn't work unless they can become under the one banner. If they can find a way, like you rightly say, it's always going to be a problem. Always.
What about your CEO? I mentioned him earlier, Ryan Webb. He's finally come out and been public. I think it's something that the fans have asked for almost years now. And to be honest, I didn't even know what he looked like until yesterday when he's finally showing his face around. Now, they sent the players forward to do interviews. I feel like that was an absolute dog shit. Pretty piss poor management. That should never be on the players to do so. I don't care if they're scheduled or not. That should be Ryan Webb, center of attention there, explaining everything. I know the fans, from what I've heard and from what I've read across pages, things like that, have never really had much to do with Ryan Webb. He's not really involved with the fans there at all. Look, I don't think he needs to be giving him everything, but I think there needs to be a mutual respect and at least somewhat keeping your fans up to date, because without the fans, you don't have a club. Now, I don't feel like Ryan Webb fully understands that. Happy to be proven otherwise, happy for him to reach out or whatever. But is he necessarily, because I feel like it's not just the coach. I feel like, as you said, some of the board and perhaps Ryan Webb's position should be a question here as well. And why you've got rid of the head coach, I feel like there should be some more heads to roll to really get that new feel in the club. What's your thoughts on Ryan Webb as a fan?
Okay, so when he came in, when he first came in, there was a big write-up about him. A number of media outlets covered it, and it was a big thing. The theme was that he was a young, up-and-coming administrator, fresh ideas, all that sort of thing. He will throw his weight around, heads will roll. He's going to make big changes, bring his franchise to glory, and all that sort of thing. Now, looking fast forwarding to 2.5 years into his tenure, um, and another noteworthy thing was he came from West Tigers, so one basket case to another. Seriously, I don't know. He put it out on your resume. Is that an achievement or is that an anchor? Is that a challenge? Is that a weakness? Put it on your weakness. Like it's come in, and I think what's happened is we will never know if he is in fact all those things, because we'll never know if he's been hamstrung, probably the best word, pun intended, by the board. So if he comes up with an idea, he's got to put it together. He's got to put it to the board, and the board's like, no, we like the rotating chair theory. Let's just, we'll have one chairman, and then every 2 years we'll change it to another one of us, and then because that's what's happening at the moment. They have the chairman, and every 2 years or so they get another bloke gets a turn. Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong in terms of the timing, but that's the general theme of the boys' club. And to finalise the part about Ryan Webb, I don't think he's done anything. I don't see anything. I agree with you 100%. We haven't seen the guy since that interview. Um, we haven't seen the guy since that interview. What they did with the players, been like the players didn't know. It wasn't like they were prepared. Hey guys, we need you to front to the media. They didn't even know what the media was like. Hey, what's going on? Your coach got sacked. What's going on? How do you feel? I was like, are you serious? Like, on top of that, some of these kids, this is the last thing I'm going to say, some of these kids are 19, 20 years old. They're expected to front the media like that all alone. Where are the big wigs? Where are the heavies? The big pay packets? Where are they? Where are the suits to come protect these guys? These are your assets, man. Like someone could have said something really, really, really bad. Um, you know, it's just no. It reeks of piss poor form.
I want to go on to the players, but lastly on the board and things like that, I want to quickly ask you as a fan, as a member, as everything. I know you've been everything in the past, maybe not at the moment, but what's the procedure to vote the board? Because I'm hearing, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard it's near impossible for the fans and members to get access to the board in terms of voting power, and the way they've had it currently set up, which is pretty confusing. So I'm hoping you have some sort of inside knowledge about it, has basically left them untouchable.
Yeah, so basically you need to be a member of the football club or the leagues club, something like that, and it has to be 5 years before you get access to voting. So they basically made it too hard for people, and rely on the fact that in 5 years people are going to forget. They've got their lives to live, they've got bills to pay, they've got families to raise. So it's very difficult. There was a period there where when Doust was in, he had some clause where he basically couldn't get sacked. You couldn't get rid of him, and it's very unique. And when I say unique, it's the only one out of the 16 clubs at the time that had that in place. So these guys are politicians, pretty much. They're glorified politicians. I don't think any of them know anything about rugby league or care about rugby league. All they care about is their pay coming in, and if they want to prove me otherwise, prove it. Let's see. All they care about is putting their pay coming in and bleeding this club dry for what it's worth, milking the cow. The goose that laid the golden egg until I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to fold. We're going to demerge. I don't know.
I don't know if any board members or anyone at power or with power at this club will ever watch this or hear this, but my one thing, not being a fan, is listen to your fans. You have one of the biggest clubs in the game, if not the biggest, or at least in the top two. A powerful brand, one of the most well-known sporting brands, not just in the NRL, but in the country, probably worldwide as well. Plenty of people know that the Red B, things like that. You've got such a powerful foundation and structure there. It shouldn't be this hard to get right. You're obviously overcomplicating so much that doesn't need to be overcomplicated to get your club to where it currently is. And the fans see it. You're lucky you've got very passionate fans, because I tell you what, if this was some of the other clubs that don't have as such passionate fans, you'd be lucky to have about 2,000 people rocking up each week at the moment, because I know a lot are angry, a lot are over it, and you've really got to get things right in the next month or two to get this club moving forward. Now, it's not just on these people, I know that, but a strong back room is the foundations of a strong front end and a team on the park. Now, the players, for mine, there's been interesting picks all year, interesting ways how things have been handled. We all know about the Zach Lomax scandals now and how that was handled. I feel like what's one thing that pretty much put the final nail in Griffin's coffin was how he handled that. I don't think it was right. Lomax hasn't been in form much of the year. I think a lot of fans said about his goal kicking. Where are you at the moment in terms of the playing group? Have they been holding themselves accountable, one, and have they been putting 100% on the park? Because as you said, there's probably two names that definitely have been. The rest, if there weren't player contracts and big buyouts, I feel like there'd be a lot of your playing talent that would be out of contract at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just address the initial thing you said about Lomax. A couple of things. One, I don't know if you know, they swap sides. Griffin had this bright idea of swapping Sulu to the other side and breaking up that Lomax and Ravalawa combination. Yes, Lomax with his addiction to flick balls, that did cause a lot of errors, but they also scored a lot of tries, a lot. I think it was our best side by like 8 or 9 tries. It wasn't, the other side was not even close. Um, and it moves Lomax. So what happens? A player like that, first of all, Lomax is very much a confidence player. If he drops one ball, he has a shocker. But if he breaks a tackle or sets up an early try or chases those bombs that they put for him because he's so good in the air, and scores, the guy just like he's almost unplayable on his best day. But it's just too few and far between. Obviously, he's a confidence player. So what's happening is when you move him the other side after he's been playing with this side, where he doesn't have to think about where he is, what hand he's holding the ball in, which way he steps when he steps off. Is he going too far to the sideline? Because if he's generally susceptible to go that way or that way, it's all of a sudden you got his brain thinking already. The guy's an overthinker because of the fact that he's a confidence player. It just made it worse. And he just got angrier. Then he forced passes and errors, and it literally a downward spiral to a form slump. Um, and I just want to add real quick the little thing, Jacob Little. He got dropped. He was so good. Every time he gets on, we go from slow motion end by to actually causing real problems for the defense of other teams. Getting them scrambling. He's really quick out of dummy half. He's quicker than I thought. I must say I was a bit reserved about his signing, but he's been really good. But he got a 2-year extension, and then the week he got the extension, he got dropped. What does that tell you? It tells you the board signed him, and Griffin doesn't agree with it, so he does that. Unprofessional. Go on.
Yeah, I agree. Just on your Lomax point, because I just want to quickly mention my part on that. I know a lot of that was to do, as you said, to get that flick pass out of his game. This is, for mine, sums up Griffin's reign there and why I don't think it's been a success at all, and he probably should never have been the coach there, because his old school mentality is to basically do that, move a player out of his position and teach him tough love. All you need to do in that situation is sit down with Lomax and say, what we're going to do in this off season is work with you in terms of when the right time is to do this flick pass, because as you said, it has got us a lot of tries. Yes, it's got us some mistakes as well, but what an arsenal to have in your weaponry and to be able to produce that at clutch moments, to suck in a winger, to suck in a center, and then be able to do that flick pass is something that I think most clubs in the NRL, if Zach Lomax became available, they'd sign him in a heartbeat. You don't change him over and basically wrap him up in a big bloody jacket and say you can't produce anything. No wonder the bloke wasn't happy and has played like that all year. It's hard to do. A good coach would grab him and say, I'm going to work with you now to get this right and make sure what you produce. Because to be honest with you, Zach Lomax should be in a state of origin center. He has the skills and the capabilities to be that. So don't diminish his confidence by doing that to him. In terms of the other players, you mentioned Mbai. I've already said that in the past that I don't think he's a first-grade player anymore, and I don't know why he keeps getting starts and things like that. He's not a top 13 player in any of the positions on the field, and then it just makes it hard for you guys. Ben Hunt, it's a worry, I feel like, for you guys in terms of some of the comments he's made in the last month or so, in terms of what happens to Hook, his close relationship with Hook. For mine, whenever Ben Hunt plays well, the Dragons play well. He's the heart and soul at the moment for the club. I know DeBellin's right there as well, but he's your leader. He's your skipper. If he was to go, I feel that's a massive hole, and it's a hole that in the short term can't be fixed, especially with the player talent that is available at the moment for next year. There's pretty much nothing around. Where's your concerns with Ben Hunt at the moment? Surely the club has to go out of their way at the moment to make sure he's happy and to keep him at the club.
I agree with that last statement 100%. They need to go out of their way. They need to show that they can, show that they appreciate what he's done all these years. He's given away his prime. I know, yes, he was paid well, third highest paid player in the league for a number of years in a row, behind Ponga and Cherry Evans. But he's given everything, and yes, they should keep him happy, and they can. They have the advantage against him leaving. His kids are in school. He's in his early 30s. He doesn't really need to. If he's going to leave, guaranteed it's not going to be 1.2 million. It's going to be less. Um, he may as well see out the last year at least. And also at this club, he's a halfback. He's a captain. He'd have a lot of say in the plays. If he's a halfback, I'm sure he's been there long enough. He has an idea of the type of foot he wants to play. The circumstances around or his situation, just a little bit of a cuddle, bit of TLC, and he'll be fine. But they 100% agree with you. They need to make the effort. I just want to add one more thing with Zach Lomax. I forgot because I rambled as usual. Is the goal kicking. Now, Daryl Halligan got brought in as goal kicking coach this year. He went from an 82% kicker to 68% kicker. Well, Daryl Halligan changed his style, his kicking style, and he's pleading with him to stick with it, blah, 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 and gave him the shorter tee, right? So now Lomax is using the shorter tee. He expends most of his energy trying to get the ball up, which is why a lot of his misses are falling under the post. It's disgusting. It's embarrassing. It's like a C grade team, park footy, a pub league. It's just shocking because he's trying to get all the power. It's taken away from his accuracy, and obviously he's not even getting it over the bar. That needs to be scrapped right away. And he's an 82% kicker. Why are they mucking around with it? Why did they get him a goal kicking coach? Or because he's mates with him?
There's a line in the sand moment now for the club. I think it needs to happen, and it should happen and will happen. Where, in terms of the playing group now, is there a player or players that you can see for the next half of the year to really come out of their shadow now that they probably will be encouraged to do so? There's not going to be that sort of strapped down feeling that has been around the club, I feel like, for all year with Griffin. Is there any players that you're looking forward to watching now for the run home?
I think the key comes down to the positional decisions. The lineup I saw I like it, and I think they need to stick with it. Little needs to be there full time at dummy half, or he could spend 10-15 minutes just for spells. I think Jack Bird is a waste as second row. He's 5-8 days are over because he's too slow now. But the reason why I think he could be, say, a 13, for instance, is he's so bloody hard to tackle. He's at his best at the start of the year, the first 5-6 games. He'd run across field. You don't know what you can't coach against someone who doesn't know what they're going to do. And he'd run across field, swat that long arm of his. He could fend both sides, mind you, right? It's so hard to tackle. You just engage at the very least, put on alert 3 or 4 defenders every single time. He stopped doing that. Jaden Sewell stopped doing that. So I'm looking forward to him having the extra spring in his step. And obviously, as I said, Jacob Little's gonna have the shackles off. Oh, and Jaden Sullivan, special mention. He got benched after that disgusting 10 in the bin. The ref should be sacked. This disgusting 10 in the bin. He's stuck underneath. But we all know about that. Jaden Sullivan got benched for the rest of the game. When the guy's a threat, guy's scoring tries, he's setting up tries. obviously he's a threat. He's going to have the shackles off and he's going to be free. If he doesn't, if all of the above don't happen, then maybe this coach doesn't have the right mentality. But let's hope that the second half of the season goes well for this new coach.
I think the spine look, or in the key combinations for the run home, it should be slowing your fullback. Just let the guy have some confidence and play some football. I think that's exactly what he needs at the moment. 6 is obviously a moan. I think at the moment he's done enough to keep that for now. Ben Hunt needs to be halfback. I know there's a lot of talk about hooker, but that's a different level of up rep footy and the players he's around. He needs to be the conductor of that team, and he just needs to have the 7 and play that halfback role. I like what you say about Little. So he's definitely better than Mbai as well. So Little for mine is probably the hooker there. And then I feel like Sullivan is your perfect 14 to come off the bench, like you did at Magic Round when there's some tired players, and just run amok, really. Bird for mine's a 13 as well. I think that is a nucleus for the team moving forward, can cause some worries. I feel like they're on paper, there's a lot of talent at the Dragons. There's no denying that. And they're definitely not a last place roster where at the moment with things how they were, it was looking that way. I feel like the assistant coach who's now stepped up can definitely do a job. I think it's Ryan Carr, isn't it? His name is stepping up for it. So he can definitely, if he just needs to let these players play some footy, actually just run around and play some footy, have a laugh and get together. Just look like you care. I think that's what the fans want. And before we shut off this and end it, I just want to ask you one final message that you have, I guess, for the fans or the club, whoever is listening to this, wherever it goes to, what's Sid's final thoughts on where things have been and where things are going?
Well, look, it's sort of semi-glum, and that is where there's hope, there's life, and there is some hope. The only way is up, and the reason the only way is up is I think this is rock bottom. Other than getting the wooden spoon, this is a rock bottom, and they need to just yes, 100%. We talked about the board. They need to sort it out, get them all rowing in the same direction. Somebody and a big personality in the coach's box to get the players going and get the board to stay out of it, mate. Keep your cushy wage and your suit, your air conditioned office, and just stay out of the football. Let a football mind take over the football team, and then get that spirit going, and get competitive and play footy again. It's a simple game, it's just a simple game. Like you said, there's a lot of talent there. There's so much, and they're all failing at the moment. And they can do it. They can do better. There's a new dawn. There's a new dawn happening now.
Well, Sid, I have loved chatting to you. I know it hasn't been an easy time for you at the moment. I know you want to get some things off your chest. I hope you feel a bit better now. Dragons fans listening and watching, thank you for tuning in. I know it has been a hard time for the club, and I hate when clubs go through this. I really do, because it's not fair. I know Parramatta went through it for 3 or 4 years in the early 2010s, and I hated it. So I know what it is like. I hope it does improve now. I hope you get the coach you need and deserve. He'll make the right decisions. As I said earlier, I hope the board, the CEO, can sort of get their part of things right. They really need to. And I hope that the club, as I said, can just have a turning point. I think that's the biggest thing, is just to forget about what's happened and really start fresh, start again, basically. Start the merger again. Have that mindset where we go, it's one big club. Let's go ahead and let's get things right now. We can't keep doing this to ourselves, because all you're doing is affecting your own, and that's not fair. So you don't want to do that. But Sid, once again, thank you. Thanks for being part of it. As I said, guys, there'll be more content with Sid coming up in the works. Probably be out in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Maybe we might try and push a bit early, but there's a bit of work to do with it. But enjoy, guys. Enjoy, Dragons fans. I think it's going to turn around for you guys now. I hope Ben Hunt stays. It's a must, but thank you.